I'm not speaking to the whole industry. I'm speaking to one driver. The driver that woke up in his sleeper outside of Memphis or Missoula. The driver who's been carrying this country on their back while wondering if anyone in power even sees them anymore. The driver who needs to hear the truth, the whole truth, from someone who's lived this life. Not someone reading notes off a podium, because I'm not just the host of Highway Fever. I'm a truck driver. 34 years. Almost 4 million accident-free, ticket-free miles. And everything I'm about to say to you, it comes from the leather of the steering wheel that's been in my hands my entire adult life. I've stood on the streets of Washington, D.C. in my 25 years advocating. I've been on Constitution Ave. I've walked the halls of Congress in my boots, not a suit, and I've heard how they talk about us. Not as citizens, not as voters, not as the backbone of the American economy, but as those people. That's the phrase they use behind closed doors. I've heard it with my own ears. Those people. Not the men and women who deliver every gallon of milk, every case of medicine, every meal that's on every table. Just those people. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, understand this. I'm not guessing. I'm not theorizing. I'm not reading from a teleprompter or from notes or somebody's blog or an influencer that goes on a rant. I was there. I lived it. I saw it. I heard it. And here's the truth you need to hear. All of you need to hear this. Strikes don't work. Shutdowns don't work. Rallies don't work. We tried it all. We tried it all. I stood shoulder to shoulder with good men and women in D.C., and those cameras came out. The reporters took their little 60-second clip, shook our hands, smiled for the optics of it all. And the very next morning, the news cycle moved on, and trucking went right back into the shadows where it always seems to end up. You know why? Because parking trucks doesn't scare Congress. Slow rolls and convoys, they don't scare Congress. But votes do. Another thing I've learned, I used to be a hothead. Like I said, I've been there, I've done it. But your vote, my vote, 3.5 million truckers' votes, that's a language Washington actually respects and understands. The truth is this. Highway Fever has shown you, backed by fact, not by feelings. Everything we've talked about on Highway Fever has been rooted in real data, real documents, real legislation. Facts. The non-domiciled CDL crisis, FMCSA's own guidance, documents, and 49 CFR 383.71 show how loopholes allowed non-resident licensing abuse. Search the terms. FMCSA non-domiciled CDL 383.71. The FMCSA memo that Bill Quaid put out. FMCSA Bill Quaid ELP memo 2019. The bills that matter are these. HR 5688, Dan Rouser. Connor's Law, Dave Taylor. Mary Miller's companion bill. These are the only bills that actually close the loopholes. Search congress.gov, plus the bill numbers that I just mentioned. The Fair Labor Standards Act, overtime exemption, straight from the Department of Labor. Go search DOL fact sheet number 19, motor carrier exemption. Broker transparency abuse, 49 CFR 371.3, FMCSA docket, FMCSA-2020-0150. Search that docket. See the proof for yourself. Predatory leases, the Government Accountability Office report. Search GAO Truck Leasing Report. Crash Data Truth, FMCSA, LTCCS, NHTSA, FARS. In fatal car truck crashes, trucks aren't at fault in the overwhelming majority. Go look, facts. Go research this stuff, America. Search FMCSA, LTCCS, fault stats. The so-called driver shortage debunked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Search BLS heavy truck driver employment 2021 to 2024. Do the work. Go look. Everything we told you is real, documented, provable, and factual. The reason nothing changes is Washington has one strategy when dealing with truckers or those people. They let the noise burn itself out. They know the rallies fade, the Facebook shutdowns end, the convoys disperse, and the media moves on, and the public forgets. But a coordinated voting block? This is where y'all need to listen and understand. A coordinated voting block, they can't outrun that. 1 million trucks parked? That's a friggin' nuisance. 1 million truckers in a voting booth? That's a goddamn threat. That's a threat they understand. That's a threat that gets their attention. So listen really close to the driver talking to you today. The guy that's been there, the guy that's lived this for 25 years of dealing with these bureaucrats. Listen to not the host, not the commentator, not the guy on the mic. Listen to the driver who's hauled steel in the snow, in the dark, and freight across every damn interstate in this country. The driver who knows the smell of diesel at 4 a.m. in the morning. The driver who's been ignored by the same politicians who can't even explain what a logbook is. They don't know the difference between a fifth wheel and a Frisbee. I've walked their halls. I've looked them in the eyes. I've watched them shrug their shoulders and whisper, those people, the moment we're out of earshot. And I'm telling you, the purest truth that I know of all, the only time they stop laughing is when they realize those people voted. That's when they panic. That's when they pay attention. That's when the hearings happen. That's when the bills move. That's when trucking stops being ignored. And those people find a voice. To the driver who needs this the most, you matter. You always did. But they trained you to feel invisible. Your work saves this country. Your sacrifice holds families together. Your hours keep the shelves full and the lights on. And your vote can change everything. You don't need